possible. We received an email, actually, Ms. Day received an email and forwarded on to me from the Chief Operating Officer from Energy Alliances as far as the gas aggregation. So several of the residents opted out of the aggregation program during the summer, just to basically, because they're not using gas during the summer, and now they're calling and inquiring as to how they opt back in. So we're trying to get the word out on our website, and we'll put this on social media. But there are two ways that they can opt back in. They can either go on Energy Alliance's website, which is aepenergy.com, and then you can go to acquisition and aggregation and enter your information from your Duke Energy bill, or you can call Energy Alliance's opt-in number, which is 888-659-3888. And again, you're going to need information from your Duke Energy bill that you need to provide to them. So let us know if anyone has any questions, but again, the easiest way to make sure you get your questions answered is to go directly through Energy Alliances. Roundabout, we've had a couple of meetings and discussions. I talked to Todd Gadberry from the county engineer just the other day, and he assures us that while they are not likely to meet our deadline of the end of the month, that they are progressing and things are proceeding, and they are confident that we're still going to meet the deadline of having moving dirt and shovels in the ground for the utilities by the end of the year, which is part of the agreement to ensure that we have state funding and county funding. So again, as a reminder, the state has committed to pay for 50% of the project, the county 30%, and we are responsible for 20% of that project. So we want to make sure that we're meeting those deadlines. Station 69, Chief Lacey, myself, Mr. Hughes, had a meeting earlier this morning and did some final punch lists, walking around, final expenditures. I think everything's close. Most of it is odds and ends, would you say?
Yes.
Anything major? They have the work on French Avenue is complete and satisfied with that. Admittedly, we had a dry spell, so we haven't had a whole lot of major rainfall, but when we did have a rain a week or so ago, they said it functioned very well and drained very well. So all that is good. I attended the local emergency planning committee meeting. These are quarterly meetings, and I was appointed after Mr. Beck left to take his place on the LEPC board, and that was held out at the Helena County Educational Services Center, and that's a good program and a good board to be a part of. I took care of that. We anticipate potentially an issue coming in front of our land use committee, and we checked with the long-standing committee, and several of the members decided to leave the board. They hadn't been really that involved as of late. So Bob Pileski has agreed to remain as chair through the end of the year, but then wants to leave at that time. Mark Rosenberger is still a member of the land use committee, but we have 3 or 4 openings on that committee, and in light of that, I would like to recommend that we appoint 3 individuals to take the place of those. One is Dan Sullivan, who is involved with Kiwanis and as a builder and real estate agent. Katie Egan is involved with economic development and lives in Deer Run area. And John Cole is has a connection to Three Rivers School, Taylor, and has been involved. So I have background information on all 3 of them if you want to spend the time to look into them, but they all emailed me their sort of little bio, but I'd like to recommend that they be appointed to start to fill out the land use committee in case we have an issue coming up here.
Would this pay out to the public, or it's just?
Well,
How was advertised to the public?
I don't believe it was, I don't believe it ever has been, and I checked with Mr. Pileski, and Ms. Day sent an email to all of the current board committee members and asked whether they intended to remain, and once they indicated that, several of them that they weren't interested, I talked to Bob, and Bob said, you know, try to drum up some people that have some interest and expertise in this field, and so I followed through with that and got a few people that are interested in volunteering. So no, we did not put it out, and again, to my knowledge, we had never put that out as far as requesting appointments if the board wanted to do that. I think that's.
I just thought it'd been something good to put in the newsletter to see if anybody's interested.
Sure, and I think.
But those people you named seem to have qualifications that you'd be looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation, and I'd be more than happy to put that out in the, you know, make sure that goes out in the next newsletter.
So we only need 3 replacements right now? Because
Well,
if we're gonna need
Bob's going to
another-
leave in January, so we'll at least need 1 additional, and I'm not sure the count if we'll need any more than that. I'll have to look back, but these were 3 individuals that expressed interest, and yeah, so if you wanna wait or discuss or talk about the bios, we can do it next meeting, but if not, I'm happy to make a motion that we appoint them tonight.
Okay, what's your feelings?
I'd just
You'd
like-
rather table and put it
I'm on
out
the table for next week, and the week after next.
for
Okay.
2 weeks?
All right, and then I will provide again, that paragraph or 2 of their bios and.
Let's do that.
Okay. Trunk or treat went well. Carrie Robers and I attended that, and holy cow, there is 8 million kids that come through that. But it was great. She had a great pumpkin Charlie Brown theme, and it was, we got a lot of good compliments, so it was good to participate in that. Kiwanis Pumpkin Chuck is November the 5th. If your jack-o'-lanterns that are no longer needed after Halloween, bring them out with grandkids or kids or whoever. It is from 10 to noon at the elementary side of the parking lot of Three Rivers there. And Kiwanis partnered with the school to build essentially a gigantic catapult, and they launch these pumpkins, and it splats, and the kids cheer, and it's all great. So Dennis George brings donuts and coffee and orange juice, and it's a good time.
What time is that?
That is from 10 to noon on November the 5th, which I believe is a Saturday. Dr. Mark Hall will be there, and it's growing in popularity. So, Election Day is November the 8th, and I want to remind everyone that this board supported a yes vote on state issue 1 when it comes to public safety. And now I'd like to introduce a couple things. So, if you wouldn't mind taking one of those each, and I will pass these. So I've been thinking about a couple of things for a little while now, and I'll pass a couple out if you guys want to take a few. We've been talking about improving communication, improving community engagement for a little while now, and this was a priority of mine when I ran. And as much as we invite everybody to attend these meetings, our board meetings, I look out and oftentimes we have a dozen or less folks. And I think it's important that we try our best to make sure that our residents are informed, know what the issues are going on in Miami Township. So I had Carrie Rovers reserved the room up here, and this would essentially be a month from our third, right before our third meeting. So we would be meeting at 7 o'clock for our typical trustee meeting, and this would be from 5:30 to 6:30. And I have already, just today, I sent out a couple of quick texts, and I believe that Congressman Warren Davidson is likely to come. State Representative Bill Seitz is likely to come. I already have a commitment from Joe Lind, who is the new plant manager at Miami Fort, to come. A representative, whether it's Dr. Mark Ault or others from Three Rivers School District, a representative from Kiwanis. Ambassador sounds like a very official term, but in my opinion, anyone that is involved civically, is a resident, owns a business, anything else here in Miami Township, you are an ambassador of Miami Township. What you say, what you think, what you hear, and go out and tell people about is a reflection on what happens, you know, what our image is and what our reputation is here in Miami Township. So if you think, well, how do I become an ambassador? The fact that you're here in a meeting and care, or whether you're involved in any of those civic organizations I mentioned, Masonic Lodge, Kiwanis, Knights of Columbus, you know, any Lock Ministry, you know, any of these, Crossroads, if you're engaged in what's going on and want to make a difference in Miami Township, then you're an ambassador for Miami Township. And so I have just begun inviting folks, the HOAs. Ms. Day has been very instrumental, and I asked her months ago, and she and Mr. Reed have been working on trying to get the contact information on all of our HOA boards. Those are folks that are engaged in the process and engaged in what's going on in their neighborhood, and they care. We want them to be here and here. So it would be great if we had 200 people here once a month, or you know, twice a month in our Board of Trustees rooms, and listening to what's going on each month. But my vision for this is that we start off with a one-time meeting here, with the idea that we'll do it again in the spring, and that we have a fall and spring ambassador town hall style meeting, and that we bring in the folks, the leaders, the partners, the businesses, and everybody into one, so that you can get a good update on what is going on day to day in our township. So, you know, I would hope that the board would want to be a part of this and want to participate, but I think that, you know, I have been kicking around doing office hours, and a lot of state reps and things like that do that just to makes themselves accessible. But I think this is even more powerful, to bring everybody together so that you can hear what's going on with Station 69. You can hear what's going on about the roundabout. You can hear and that we can hear what's going on in our community, from a Crossroads, from a Kiwanis, from a Masonic, from, you know, the museum, you know, from everybody. And this would just be 2, 3, 4 minute updates. This isn't lengthy, huge presentations, but it gets us all together in one room, so that we can, you know, hear and network and talk, and maybe it leads to dialogues where good things come from that. So that is my goal. Again, you know, I don't know what kind of feedback, you know, what your guys' thoughts are, but this is something that I've been kicking around for a while, and I think it's timely to introduce it tonight. So.
Any comments?
No, I think it'd be a good program if it's followed through on, and you listen to the people. I know there's been several incidents where we just made decisions and didn't include the people. Even though what we said we were going to in the meeting, we didn't include the people in the decision. But I think it's something it's a good package for the community, and it's a good package for us, so we know what the community wants. Maybe the community might not want certain things that we've got in planning to do. Might not feel like we need certain things, and they let us know that we shouldn't be spending money on stuff that the community doesn't want.
All right. I think it's a good idea. I will attend it, so, and I think hopefully we can get community involvement. And here's the thing, this is just me talking out loud. If we get the business leaders and the board and other area residents that wanna come to this and elected officials, but if we don't have anyone from the public, that's the thing. If we only have 5 people show up, that's the thing, and how we get it out to them, I do not know that, unless we do a newsletter or something. I don't know if we could do that, if it's Miami Township run or what, but I will do it, I would support it. I would support it. Is this scheduled? Is this happening?
Wednesday, November 16th.
Well, it
discussing this.
is in my mind, because, I mean, I created this flyer, reserved the room tentatively, obviously wanted to see what the board's feedback was, but, have some tentative commitments already from some of these folks, and I think that with the HOA list of contacts, I've talked to some of those folks, and they say, we don't know what's going on, and you say, well, come to the trustee meetings, and that doesn't seem to be enough. But I think that if they know that Miami Fort and a congressman and a state rep and us and business folks and everybody else, their churches and civic groups and everything else are coming together, it's going to be a very informative, very interesting meeting, town hall meeting, that they can be heard, they can express their feelings, but that they're gonna learn a lot and not feel like, as much as we're engaged up here, this might not be for everyone. So that's the idea, that's the premise behind it, and I think that I'm very optimistic that with emails, social media, and just again, I've already started to reach out just today to the contacts. I think that it'll be good. I agree with you that we need actual residents to show up, and I think we will have that.
Could you ask the homeowners association if, on their website or email, if they would put that out to their?
That was
We-
my point.
we already talked to that.
Have time to get this out to the people.
And on the,
Even the door knocker or something.
Well, we're gonna include it in the newsletter, which the newsletter was scheduled, and I talked to Karen and several others, so anybody that wants to submit anything for that, we're working on that. But yes, Paul, to your point, Ms. Day has already started to work on that.
Sunday Inquirer, there's a section every Sunday. That's the only day I ever get it, is Sunday. And it's got all listings by community, by township, village, city. They have a place in there. Somehow, you need to get to the Inquirer and see if you can get this in on that page. It's like 2 pages of community information.
Sure. Well, again, the email, social media, I think we have the resources, our website, and I think we could send letters to certain groups. I think this could be. I'm very optimistic that this is going to be very successful. So, all right, good to move around tonight. This is something that we've talked about for some time, and it is somewhat time sensitive, but so we talked about some potential developments both up here on the community center campus, and as well as West Park and other things. I think that it is rather than just to discuss it, I think you need to have a visual aids. You need to, I'll get out of, I feel like I'm in someone's way no matter where I stand. And you can check this out afterwards, but I put this together myself, and then on this, and then I had help with a talented young lady that helped me with some of the graphics there on that. But essentially, there's some proposed developments in North Bend, and there's some other proposed developments going on around our region. And I think that people need to know that there's an option up here. And we have the financial resources, we have, with TIF money, we have some American Recovery Act money that we need to figure out how we're gonna utilize over the next year. And we can still apply and for state funding and other resources to partner with this. But we had, I'm told by Ms. Rovers that I think we had 3 outdoor weddings on the patio in the back just in the last 2 months. There is a request for outdoor events right out here to be in conjunction with our rental spaces that are indoors. This right here offers, and we would essentially repurpose, and you can see this afterwards, but essentially where the place that is aging and sort of run down, a little bit rusty, that if you take and put an amphitheater right in there, and it is a natural bowl, and you could put the typical seating and rows and all that. We looked at potentially a beer garden up at the swing set area that frankly is very underutilized. That it could be a spectacular area, not only for concerts, but weddings, for scout ceremonies, for Easter egg hunts. The Easter egg hunt, Chris Oser stood up on the balcony and with a little microphone at the Easter egg hunt. It was like a voice from the sky. You thought God was talking down, because nobody knew where it was. There wasn't really an area to hold an event. This would give and open up so many options that are not just concerts, not just music concerts, but so many options that you could have back there, again, as a partnership with the indoor space. So I think that this is something, and I'm not gonna ask for anybody to vote tonight, this is simply just to start a conversation, but I think that we've touched on a couple of conversations recently, and I think until you see it and understand what we're talking about, there's, it just puts it into a different perspective. The ball field out here, and this was my other project, and in my opinion, this is all tied together. I see most of the time, and I brought this up a few months back, that other than a softball team or someone playing from April to maybe beginning of June, from 4 to 6, that is rarely utilized, in my opinion. And so I approached Bayer and Becker back in May, and in May they sent me a proposal to start to explore this, and I respectfully held off until now. But in light of North Bend throwing out some generic ideas about this, and I did not feel like we could wait any longer, and so I have contacted members of the Harrison Sims Memorial Foundation Museum, and frankly, after learning about North Bend exploring some things, they asked, is this something that is going to take off? And I got very lukewarm, if at best, a reaction, and they said, that they want to see what other options are out there. This would essentially be in my opinion, an octagon or hexagon area that is very conducive to a museum space, because you can look at all of the, the entire room, and it offers several, options that you can divide that and have that section off where you can have it all flow together. But I call this our pillars of our community, because in my opinion, we need to celebrate our entire history. And again, back to those civic organizations, I would envision us acknowledging in a room like this, Kiwanis and Masonic Lodge, and Knights of Columbus, or the Miami Heights Civic Association, the Scouts. I mean, groups that have been involved and been a part of our history through the years, and acknowledge them in our history in general. And then, and this is not set to scale by any means, but then, side by side or whatever, and this could be larger, smaller, whatever else, that we bring the Harrison Sims Museum up here to our area right here. And we have a couple members from the board here tonight. This, I will admit, I stole that image, you know, from some other museum, but I have right here, Pillars of Miami Township, building the history of our yesterdays, todays, and tomorrows, because if we're going to inject some life into our area up here, we have Rakesh Ram trying to figure out what he's going to do with the property next to the Roses. We have the businesses right across the street that are still trying to come out of COVID and staffing and figure out how they're going to survive and thrive. We as a township owe it to them, in my opinion, to support them and generate some excitement up here. And if we had an amphitheater in the back and we brought a state-of-the-art new museum area that celebrates our history, could you imagine an Easter egg hunt or something where families are coming up here and they're going down there and they're participating in in an egg hunt, and then before or after that they're going over and learning about what we're all about, what our history is as a township, what William Henry Harrison and the Harrisons and Benjamin Harrison and all of those folks mean to our area, to our region. That's the generation, in my opinion, that we need to make an impression on, and so that they appreciate and understand what it means to live in our region and how unique it is to have such a rich history that we have. So it kind of ties in my opinion, all of that, and that that's what my vision is. I want to make it explicitly clear, my little effort on PowerPoint or whatever else, these are not renderings. This is not approved by the board. If the board does decide to approve any of this, we may go to the engineer and they might say, you know, you need a rectangle because of the space out there, you need a circle, or you need, you know, this needs to be bigger, that needs to be smaller. I don't know, you know, this is simply, but I think it was important enough that I spent my own money out of my own pocket to have these printed up and made up so that people can see it and we can start having a discussion about this, and that people can start to formulate their ideas, their questions, their feedback, and we can talk about it. So I know that that's a lot, but I think that we owe it to the museum and their board to know that there's been discussions. I talked to the head of the exhibits from the Cincinnati Museum down at Union Terminal in July. That's how long that I've been behind the scenes working on this. I talked to the Ohio Historical Society. You know, I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work on this, preparing for the possibility of, or at least to introduce it to our board so that we can take a look at it. Our board might say, you know, no, we don't like it at all. We might get a price tag and you might say, that's not where we were hoping. I don't know, but I think the time is now to engage with the public and let them know that at least I'm trying to advance this and look at the feasibility of it, so.
Well, you know, going back to your getting the people involved.
Yes, sir.
You know, have you talked to the Civic Association about what they think about giving up the ball field? I mean, and not having a ball field here anymore?
Three Rivers Athletic Association,
And,
that's one of the problems.
We had
have
50
right
meetings
now.
about a swimming pool before it got knocked down. Have you had any meetings at all? You've been to all these other places. Have you gone any meetings locally with the people and discussed this? Anybody at all, locally in the community? Any group who might be affected?
Well, the
Museum
Three
people?
River, I have talked to.
This is his
some
first
folks in the museum.
introduction.
And for me, I thought I made it clear that I'm just trying to introduce this idea so that we can talk about it. I'm not bringing a proposal. I didn't come up and say, I want you to vote on X numbers of thousands of dollars so that we can build this thing. That this was meant to come and say, hey, I've been working on this for months, behind the scenes to try to bring it to this point so that, and I felt like to let it sit in darkness any longer while other jurisdictions are trying to move the ball down the field, and not let people know that this could be a possibility. I'm not saying it is, but it could be a possibility, and I think there's a lot of reasons why this makes sense up here rather than down in the villages. So up here, you have security. You have, if it is right outside here, you have a 24/7 manned fire station right up here. So that is more secure. It's also not right along Route 50, where if somebody wants to break in and head towards Indiana and be, gone in a matter of minutes, that's not as much of an issue. Staffing, all of the tours, everything that the museum currently does is all through volunteers. That is, my understanding, becoming quite a strain, quite a challenge. And frankly, other jurisdictions don't have the resources we have. If we have this up here and we have attendance, we could schedule tours, we could do all kinds of things and assist and be a partner with the museum. Maybe some of it's volunteer, maybe some of it's some of our part-time employees helping out with that. But we have that ability that some of the villages and some of the other jurisdictions simply don't have. And
don't you guys already have a plan to build one down by the tomb? Build a museum?
Well,
I think that was years ago, you had that.
First of all, this is the first I've heard of this, so I
Oh.
don't have an opinion yet to share. Maybe these guys know more, but I'm
That's like
just
years
getting,
ago,
I'm
you
just
had a
getting
plan to do
introduced right
that.
now.
You had a plan at one time, cause we went to UC and it was proposed to
That was
us
for the canal
when they
tunnel,
talked
right?
about down the canal and building an amphitheater down there and
They
everything.
never got the funding. Tom gave them the canal
Yeah,
tunnel for a tax write-off.
but I thought the plan that North Bend has got had a museum built up by Harrison's tomb.
Across the street, but I don't know how they're going to get funding for it, Jack. I have, can I stand up a minute? Okay.
Stand up,
Stand up. The thing is, this history, this area, a lot of communities would kill for. I mean, I traveled all over Ohio, I know what
Yep.
people brings people in. This year, we have been so busy with tours, correct, that I'm training other people to do them. It's, Miami Township has had 2 presidents, 4 generals who were out to get a tour that were from this area, this little bitty township. That is a whole lot of leadership for the federal government. There is no other place in the United States that's dealing with President William Henry Harrison or the Harrisons other than our little museum. They got Berkeley in Virginia, and they got the place out at Vincennes, and then Benjamin Harrison, and then they got Indianapolis with Benjamin Harrison. That is it. Our little museum has been getting a lot of press, and you have been very, very generous with allowing us to be in the town hall without paying rent and stuff like that. But the fact is, there were weeks this summer that I had 4 or 5 tours. It almost became a full-time job. And we survive on donations, and when we get the money from a donation, we go out and we buy Harrison stuff. And luckily, we found the sword that way. So, it's just a shame that not more has been done with the people that lived in this area. I mean, this is a long time coming.
What's the state feel about it? Why won't they do it?
They told me there'll never be anything at Harrison Stick.
And
I had mentioned that to him, that, there was 19 acres or whatever, 14 acres behind the tomb. And it belongs to the state of Ohio, but they don't have the money to do a museum, number one, because it's Ohio and had generated, and then there's the upkeep. You can build all the museums you want, but if you don't have anybody clean the bathroom, you're out the door.
That's right.
That's the long and the short of it, and you're not gonna get volunteers to do that.
And if I may, and that's part of what I'm talking about, with putting a location down there. Ms. Myers, informed me that one, it's in the floodplain. Two, as far as upkeep, staffing, security, all those things that they would struggle with down there would not be an issue up
What
here.
would be in a floodplain?
But
We're talking about
with the canal.
Harrison too.
If
The
it's
tomb will
across,
always belong to the
Yeah.
state. It was given to the state of Ohio. The tomb itself, is owned by the state of Ohio.
Right.
They're not gonna relinquish the tomb.
sure.
And it was owned by the Harrisons until 1990. So, in their capital budget, you're allowed to get funding. They own it. They own the cemetery across the street. But if they have told me, cause it's been a long dream, to have something there. I mean, I'm amazed that the people are coming. Right now, Dr. Alt we're taking all the things, sheets out, and the kids for community service are getting our data on where they were coming from. When my husband did it, the first state that came here was Texas. Second one was California. And then it went down to Ohio, Indiana, of course, they own Harrison, and then Kentucky. So a man knocked on our door. Where was he from? Costa Rica. We were in there working, and he's from Costa Rica, and he wants to see our museum. It's an amazing amount of people that are coming. Rodney's got pictures of the cars that came in here last week, Monday.
Yeah,
Seems
all
like
of them.
forever now. We had the Vintage Car Club of America, 75 antique cars older than 1953. They're already coming. What I'm trying to tell you is these people are coming, and we're doing,
Well,
these guys help a lot,
and if I can say, I wanna say kudos, to you guys for what you've been able to accomplish on, frankly, donations. But in talking with the lead exhibitors at the Museum Center and Historical Society and others, if we take what you've collected already, and bring in resources that can provide interactive, exhibits and things, it could really just take that to a whole new level. And again, give our community something that would be a gem, that they can be proud of, that they can be excited. But again, teach those future generations to have an appreciation for the history that is pretty amazing here. So,
Harrison's are the oldest.
Does North Bend's plan on?
I don't know what North Bend's plan is.